But I think you're absolutely right, Taco. It is time for a wowzer on the top line. Whether that's
Yeah,
Dolly Parton, which I don't care about as much as you and Barry and Brad do and others, but that's a name that works. Like there's something needs to get the whole country going. Holy gee, do you see what they just did over there?
Right.
Even if it's
Can't miss.
one name only, I think they need to get back to that because that hasn't happened since it would have been 2020. And before that, it might go all the way back to Paul McCartney year when they had that year, which was 2013, my God, 11 years ago.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the What Podcast. Here we are. I'm Barry. That's Russ. Lord Taco to you guys. And Bryan. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing well.
All right. This is going to be a fun show, as they always are. We don't have any breaking news. We don't have any special guests. We're just going to kind of catch up, I guess, for lack of a better.
Yeah, the festival lull has hit. There's no doubt. I mean, it's still summer left. Let's not run off and throw the summer out just yet.
No, exactly. And speaking of, I do have some news. I'll go ahead and tell you because I've been texting back and forth with some folks over at C3, and just got confirmation. This is big. Boot Scoot Boogie Nights will again perform at Bonnaroo 2025.
You can put that rumor to bed.
Yeah, finally.
Just got it. This is rumor time. Yep. So I've got the first. Actually, that's the truth. We have breaking news. The first confirmed act at Bonnaroo 2025. Boot Scoot and Boogie Nights.
All right.
All right.
You heard it here first. You can go to that Reddit thread and you can lock it. Lock that thing down. I don't want to hear another word of egregious, terrible information over there.
And this isn't from Corey Smith. This is from somebody even higher up. So, exclusive Tennessee performance of Boot Scoot and Boogie Nights.
I saw they were playing. I wish I had it and could pull it up quickly, but I can't. They got another pretty big show in Nashville, I think, soon. They are filling up rooms. We talked to Corey about it last week. I mean, very briefly, but they really are putting a lot of people in rooms to see this stuff.
700,000 seats. So you mentioned that. I want to thank Corey again for coming on last week. I thought that was great. One of the things we always try to do is sort of that sausage making inside baseball. That's what we love, right? And to have him on, Corey again, for those just joining in. Corey Smith is marketing manager for C3 Presents. He's the guy that has to promote Bonnaroo and South Star and some of these other festivals, Railbirds. I think
Railbird, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of got the southeastern regional district, if you would, if you're thinking of another kind of business infrastructure where you have regional people that kind of cover certain areas as their footprint. C3's is way bigger than I realized until I knew it was big, but it's bigger than I thought. Yeah. But yeah, he's over a lot of the southeast and then the Boot Scoot and Boogie Nights, man. I meant to ask him, I thought about it too late, that was this a classic case for him of I want to be a rock star, but it didn't work. So I got into radio or music production and presentation. I bet there's a little bit of truth to that. He might not have come to grips with that completely. That was me. That was my life. I wanted to be a rock and roll star, and then realized that ain't gonna work. What can I do that's closer?
Yeah. Makes sense. How can I still be in this realm without, even if I can't make it on stage?
Yeah.
I did pull up their schedule here for Boot Scoot Boogie Nights. Yeah, Friday, August 30th, they're going to be in Nashville. Saturday, the 31st, they're in Louisville, Kentucky. And then next month, on September 20th, they're in Atlanta. And September 21st, they're in Macon, Georgia. So they are touring. If you're in one of those cities, go see them.
Well, there's a reason why there's not a lot of festival news. All their employees are off playing in their bands.
Right,
yeah, that's what we should say. Corey, dude, get to work.
Yeah.
We can't do a show if you're off playing music every day, dude.
That's right. Yeah.
He was great last week. You guys, we've had a couple of days now to think about it. I thought it was really informative. It's so much fun to me to get the people literally on the ground that are doing this and And the thing that always stands out to me is, and we mentioned it last week on the show, they're fans. They love it just like we do. And so you hear that, right? I think sometimes we think I don't know what we think, how these things happen. There's some corporate suit somewhere, but it's people who love music and they want to put on an event, and then they know what they're doing.
Well, there's a healthy mix of corporate suits, there's no doubt, but it does appear within this ecosystem that's a lot of fans. We more and more that we've talked to and met over the years, and some that we'll have on here in the near future before the end of the year. But I guess you got to have a little bit of both.
Yeah,
you got to have the suits that got all the the bankroll, the capital, the financial lines of credit and all those things. Those type of guys aren't generally all that big of fans. They're kind of money people, and hey, you got to have money people to pull this kind of stuff off. So, but it was fun talking to Corey for sure.
Big business, and we joked a second ago about it being rumor season, and I am serious. I'm pretty sure we just broke news that the first band booked. But I also reached out as part of this conversation and just sort of ask how much of the Bonnaroo lineup is currently booked at this point, and the answer I got was about 20%.
That's a pretty strong number 10 months out.
Yeah.
There's no telling what level of artists we're talking about here, but
that point was made to me very clear.
Yeah.
That could be headliner, that could be who stage, and of course that's a joke, and I get it, but
we'll dive into all the madness of social media and the rumor mills and the mock lineups. I do enjoy some of that stuff. It's just way too early right now for me. But it's always too early. It's like the sports commentary world of the mock drafts. That's what the mock lineup is. And every time someone, well, not every time, but many times the ones that know they shouldn't be doing this are like make a little sounder. The ridiculously too stupid mock draft. That's kind of what we're doing here eventually anyway.
But along those lines, and because we've done it now, and refer back to, and Russ, if you'll link that first interview that you and Brad Steiner and I did up in Knoxville with Bryan and Steven, the guys that actually book, in large part, this event, they work year round. And so they build, they figure out who a headliner is going to be, and then they try to build a lane around that to make sure that fans are entertained throughout the whole day. And Corey mentioned that with South Star, they were going to wait till next year, right? And then Blink 182 comes in and said, "Hey, we'll do this festival." Well, that created a whole bunch of stuff. So it can happen, where you think the guys who are booking it go after who they think will be the hot act in a year, or it can come around.
Sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah, you've got an opportunity to get, whoever, and then you build around that. So
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that interview we did in Knoxville with Stephen and Bryan, right? Yeah, and Ted from AC
Ted
Entertainment.
Heinig, Brian Benson, and Stephen.
It stings a little bit to go back and listen to because that was 2020, and we were still hyped about that 2020 lineup. We had no idea what was coming. But just the process that they talked about, how they book this thing, that's every year. So you can definitely learn a lot from that year, even though that particular lineup didn't happen. It's still a fascinating look into how they managed to pull all this off.
Yeah, still the best lineup I've ever seen that I'll note that we never saw.
We never saw.
Exactly.
The greatest lineup that never happened.
Never happened.
Could have buried the festival too. So it's it's been a nice turnaround here 5 years later. But I remember sitting at the Moxie Hotel here in downtown Chattanooga, getting the lineup half day in advance that night, in the middle of the night kind of thing, and
we
seeing it, and we were all
like 11, yeah.
Yeah. Holy cow, you're right.
Yeah,
Miley Cyrus was.
I know.
We got it early. You're right. I forgot about that one. I forgot where we were.
Yeah, at the Moxie.
Let me ask this. We're not going to do rumors. It's too early. But I will ask you this, and I wish I'd asked Corey, because we came out of Bonnaroo 24 as it's a Renaissance Roo. It's back. It's all three of us sat there on your bus, talking about this was I'm back in. Not that we were out, but
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
but it's back.
Just reaffirmed, right?
So what does that mean? What do you guys think this 25 has to look like? Have you even given that any thought?
You want to start, Russ? Or you want me?
I just think, and this year, headliner wise, it's got to be close to that 2020 lineup. I mean, this 24 was good, but I think they really got to knock it out of the park with a killer lineup 2025. That's my thought.
Yeah, I'll echo that and add a little to it. I once it was over, I realized, and this happens every single one of them. Go look at Bonnaroo 2022. Look at 2022, and then you can do this every year. 2017, it's like, oh my God, can you believe it was on this lineup? Whether you maybe didn't realize it or not, you can do that every year.
Yep.
But 24's lineup was a lot better than I thought going in. And the Chapel Roan hysteria helped, and some other things helped. But the headliners were still a little meh. I mean, EDM is still so niche to give it to close out the festival. I know this is an old guy talking, but I still didn't love the idea. The Chili Peppers, I mean, none of it. We're all done with that band. And Post Malone was a surprising, awesome Friday night, but still wasn't really getting the excitement levels too high. The overall festival just went off so well. The undercard was so good. Most of us did agree that the undercard was really good. And it was a throwback year. Everything just went, other than the heat picking up, but we deal with that every year too. It just was the overall vibe was just so great.
Yeah, the vibe, for sure.
It was amazingly how well it came together. And that was a common theme, not just with a few of us that had maybe better situations than others. Got that everywhere we went. But I think you're absolutely right, Taco. It is time for a wowzer on the top line. Whether that's Dolly Parton, which I don't care about as much as you and Barry and Brad do and others, but that's a name that works. Like, there's something needs to get the whole country going. Holy gee, do you see what they just did over there?
Right.
Even if it's
can't miss
one name only, I think they need to get back to that, because that hasn't happened since it would have been 2020, and before that, it might go all the way back to Paul McCartney year when they had that year, which was 2013. My God, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Where everybody in the music, in the entertainment world stops. Tonight Show with Fallon, somebody stops and makes a comment.
Yeah.
Can you believe this? I feel like it's time for that, because since coming out of the pandemic, we haven't had that at all. I think I think it's time for that.
No, and what we have said, and because people in the industry said this last year, not just Bonnaroo, but festivals around the country, the bands came out of the pandemic, super ready to go.
And all available.
And then all available, and then needed a break last year. Yeah. So theoretically, we may not even know who that ginormous person or act.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have examples for you. I'm not sure who it's supposed to be. I don't know that yet. Give me till the end of the year, and I can start to maybe come up with my own guesses.
I mean, I guess it could be Chapel. Maybe she comes back, but I mean, she's having the summer of, she's having a career. So will she still be?
I hope she takes some time off for her own well-being. That thing's been so extraordinary. Yeah. But yeah,
she also might be too big. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm not here to give you some thoughts on that, other than it just feels like it's time for that, for their overall brand.
You've answered. You both need to come strong with the big. Can you believe they got
a headliner or two? Maybe it's a single. Because the undercard's always great. That's the one thing you'll never get on a headliner at Bonnaroo. You'll never get a headline of Bonnaroo's great second tier poster this year. Can't wait to talk about. Like, that's not going to make the news. That brings people in, certainly, and Yeah, I think the excitement will flow into next year. I think ticket sales will move no matter what. That would be my first guess. But something to kind of solidify how great of a year we had.
It feels like they've kind of got the actual logistics of it down pretty good. The camping, all of that. That was part of why I think the vibe was so good. Everything feels, pretty good. Pretty
Well,
evened out.
I think you're referring to kind of like where they've slowly changed things, the different camping options and all that, where they haven't drastically changed the footprint. They haven't made it look and feel drastically different, but in some ways it really was, from the tiered pricing to the way you can camp at 931, which I never thought. Did you guys ever see how they have the 931 set up? Because it's very
like to walk through there. No, it brings tears
I've
to
gone
my
through
eyes.
there.
Well, it is. I wondered how in the world they would pull that off. It's its own little colony over there. It has nothing to do with anything else that's going on. It's got its own dedicated entrances, and so it works out well. I talked to people who were in 931 and they loved it.
Interesting
Everyone
you say
loves
that.
it.
That seems to be what I guess. Interesting you put it that way. That seems to be no matter where you are. Wherever you are seems to have its own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You got the Bear in the Woods. You got 931. You got the VIP. Everything seems to have something going on, and that's what makes the whole weekend work.
I guess the idea is you want a unique as you can experience in whatever destination you choose, whether it be the glamping, you just show up in your tents there. I've never talked to anybody who's done that, by the way. We get there and then we bring our stuff, and then our awesome tent is, I don't remember what they call this stuff, but I've seen pictures of it. I've never talked to anybody who's done that, but
we need to work on that. There are things that we'll talk about as we get closer to next year. Like they've got to figure out that VIP.
The platinum one is
space,
the one
the
that I was
platinum.
the most annoyed with. I know Russ loved it, but
I loved it.
empty space between the crowd and the stage. They got to fix that. You love it because you were all by yourself.
yeah.
They got to figure that.
My
out.
guess is they will, because as far as the platinum goes, just because that was so glaringly an issue, and they're quick to come around to the obvious.
I think I saw maybe on Reddit or something where somebody was not just complaining about it because it's a wasted space, but it's like, if we're in there and there's four of us and we're dancing, it feels like
it's lame.
Eyeballs are just glaring a hole through
Everybody's
the
looking at you.
back of our head.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah, I didn't even think about
either,
that.
but think about how uncomfortable that would be.
Yeah, you got nobody around you.
You might as well be on stage. They might as well be there to see you because you're right in front of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's gotta get well, and we'll get into those kinds of things. So
yeah, the only other thing I can think of maybe to address is that We're in the Woods situation on Sunday. It did get a little crowded at capacity and a little bit.
I hate to be a buzzkill, but might just want to shut the festival down like they used to do for 18 years.
I agree.
At midnight, this place is donezo. Y'all can go out there and do whatever you want until as long as you want, but this festival's over at midnight. If you want to limit liabilities, that's how you do it.
Yeah, we kind of hinted around it, but I mean, a lot of those volunteers, you think they haven't checked out?
They're done.
They're done, dude.
Their weekend is over.
They're done. So I have to believe they know that.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun idea. I mean, these EDM types, they don't ever want to quit. I was seeing some threads going back to when we're talking about maybe what more of and what will we see in 2025. The EDM craze is still here, and they'll be picking up on that for another year at least, if not another couple. I wouldn't be surprised to see an EDM headliner again. The Thursday night thing, is that here to stay? Got to feel like it is. Feels like it should be. Will that be the EDM night? Lots of those kinds of questions, but it does appear, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was probably the Festival or somebody who was within that conversation on Twitter or Reddit. was showing the numbers, and it's just like there's no escaping this. The EDM popularity, and it was actually I think one of the measurements was up against the jam band explosion of 20 years ago, and the jam band chart is doing this, and the EDM chart is doing this, and so any wishes for a big name, I guess Fish's stupid name could come back up, but I don't know why they'd want to waste their time with that, because I mean Fish is in got its own little galaxy. But I would, if you're looking for a lot of jam band, I wouldn't look for it.
Along those lines, back to what I asked, what you guys think 25 needs to look like. I do wonder about that, the demographic, because we talk about legacy acts, we talk about EDM. They're not the same market, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is has the market diversified too much or so much, or not even too much? That's a quantified type of thing. But can you, so far, I mean, you and I don't go to the EDM shows, but a large number of people do, and they make it work at Bonnaroo. Is it too spread out? You know what I'm?
Yeah,
no,
I think I know where you're getting at. I wouldn't say it is, and I don't know that depending on what the legacy act is and what is trending on TikTok, because a legacy act can become top of mind to a 20-something really quick.
Yeah, a Lionel Richie.
Yeah, well, I don't.
That just was
Not sure if that one hits as much as like
not now,
Stevie Nicks.
but I'm just saying like a Stevie. Yeah,
like,
I'm just saying those acts that everybody seems to like. A Dolly.
I think.
So
I think it would be in their best interest to always have some kind of legacy act, and unfortunately, those legacy acts are the music of my youth. You know, So
the South Star, this '90s anthem thing. So
yeah, it's a
Corey referenced.
I mean that's all South Star is a bunch of legacy acts. If you want to start using the definition the way we use it in the industry now. So it works, but not for mass sales. So I would say lots and lots of EDM, and hey, there's enough room on that farm for all of it for me.
Yeah, fine. I like it.
I just you've already. I think to me, and someone's gonna scream in the comments, and I'm wrong here, but Bonnaroo's kind of already showcased the best of the best from EDM. They've already hit the big names. Now I'm sure there's 15 others I haven't heard of that are just knocking on the door or just kicked the door down yesterday. But Pretty Lights, Skrillex, I mean, they were having EDM 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't just start doing this. So I think they've done it really well. And there's always going to be some rich guy who's never been to Bonnaroo who wants to go see they've already used all of them. I'm about to say Elton John. Well, Elton's already been there.
Yeah.
I think those kind of acts still hold a lot of value.
All right. Just because it's on my mind, a little bit of business. We'll probably take next week off. And I don't know about the following, and then we'll come back pretty strong and get ready for South Star. And then it'll be the end of September, and before we know it, we'll be back to heavy rumor. And then they'll have Christmas, ticket sales. So we've got shows coming, but just wanted to let everybody know we're taking next week off. But this is not to say we're wrapping up, because I know there's some other news, Bryan, you want to talk about in particular. But anything else Bonnaroo-y right now that you can think of?
I was bouncing around online. I mean, other than people it's irresistible to talk about rumors. I mean, gossip is the most powerful thing in America, maybe all of the world. But outside of that,
speculate.
Yeah, I mean, speculation's fun. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not being a hater. I like to sit around and use educated guesses. It's just at this point, it's pretty hard to have an educated guess. But to know that we are,
there's no educated guess for sure.
Yeah, other than if you know for sure they're in, Australia in June. Okay, well they're out.
Yeah.
Well, you can rule out some place.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we did a show for everybody who wasn't going to be at Bonnaroo, we'd be here for the rest of our lives, boring the entire internet. But
the big name, not to get into rumors, but everybody keeps throwing out Gambino as a headliner. What do y'all think about that? I mean, is that feasible? Is that the right?
I
the
didn't
right
know
name?
what the importance was of Childish Gambino 6 years ago, and
Yeah.
I'm flippant. But I was told, I just didn't understand it 100%. And then I thought again. I thought the whole gimmick was retired.
Yeah, no, he's
Glover,
it was
right? Glover, is it Danny
Donald
Glover?
Glover, yeah.
Yeah, like
Donald
it's-
Glover, not
Donald.
Danny Glover.
Daniel, Danny
Donald.
Glover, the actor.
Speaking of legacy,
yes.
Donnie Glover, Daniel Glover, whatever his name
sorry.
is. But I mean,
Donald Glover.
they can do whatever they want, and I'm sure it'll work
good
out.
actor.
Work
He is
out
a good
just
actor.
fine. Oh, he's a great. I mean, it seems like everything he does is
Yeah,
is
that was one of the
home
best
runs.
shows ever. Russ and I were talking off air, waiting for you to come on, and that show, for one person to command 80,000 people and that ginormous stage like he did was incredible. So
It was, it was one of my favorites of 2019.
I was at Courtney Barnett at one of the tents, either waiting for her to start or she just ended. And I remember our buddy Brad was giving me all the bleep in the world for not going to this Gambino thing. And I was like,
Well, you
listen.
deserve it.
Well, I know, that's fine. And I was like, listen, well, Courtney Barnett's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
So
she's
I was like, listen, Brad, I can go to something that I might like, that you tell me that I should do, and that I might enjoy. Or I can go to something I know I guaranteed 100% will love, and I won't have to hang out with you for a couple of hours.
yeah,
See you later.
I get it. And I mean, I got lucky. I wandered up and got on the rail for that, and it was incredible.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, everything about it was amazing. But for him to come next year, I don't know, man. What would he do? You know.
I don't know.
And again, it's so early to be speculating.
But if you told me last year Post Malone, I would have said kind of the same thing. What's he going to do?
Sure,
well, and the
sure,
answer
sure.
would have
That's
been,
a good point.
well, let me give you a list of the things he might do.
right.
And turns out that Post Malone show was one of the cooler shows I've seen there in a while. Now that's not a very
fair
good
enough.
comp to Childish Gambino coming back, but
Again, it's too early. I'm not ready to have these conversations, so
we'll
see.
definitely go there when we need to. The only thing I was looking at here in the last week or so that grabbed my attention, a few of them for a couple of different reasons, is these I just call them destination events, cruise events, all-inclusive resort events, and some that are not all-inclusive. And I've never been to any of these. You guys haven't either, right?
Nope.
I've always been curious by them. Like the cruise, the whole cruise thing. I mean, that's bad jokes that people, recycled over and over again about the cruise. But every time I look up, it seems like there's a boat capsizing or something's wrong with the the internal plumbing or something in one of these things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ever going to get on a boat and go out in the middle of nowhere. But many of these others are like Mexico City, Cancun, Widespread Panic's done it for a while, Panic in La Playa, excuse me. And 3 that were announced this week. First of all, it's your band, Barry, My Morning Jacket. They're One Big Holiday. They've been doing that in Mexico maybe 10 years. I did a quick Google search last night to try to find a list of and I couldn't find it, but I know just from memory it's been at least a half decade to a full decade. And they're going to Miramar, Florida, which for those that don't know is right around, it's a nicer area of the 3 I'm about to mention, but Destin and Panama City, Florida.
Right.
And
Right.
the first reaction was, excuse me, My Morning Jacket, what are you
Yeah.
doing? You're going to Florida after these years of all-inclusive, exotic, at the foot of the Chichen Itza, Mayan ruins. What are you doing? And so I wonder, I don't have any strong thoughts on it, but their fans certainly do.
Well, we had Jeff Cuellar. You remember Jeff? Jeff was he was kind of the Corey Smith, Brad Parker of Bonnaroo.
He was the one I remember mostly from my memory of explaining to us in front of the Squarch.
Yes, he was the guy. That
Here's the Squarch, guys.
He's the guy that had to polish. That,
you're the one that's got to go tell him about this. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And he was great at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he left. He was with AC, and then I guess he was with Live Nation for a little bit right after the transition, and then he left, and now he does these cruises. And so we had him on the show, and he talked about the experience. You know, you get to hang out with. Typically, it's multiple bands.
Yeah, most of these are like literally mini festivals, like 3 to 4 bands,
and it's contained, and so you get not only the show, but you can literally, hang out theoretically.
You can hang out with the band half the time, yeah.
Exactly, and so to me, that either is going to be great or awkward as hell.
Yeah, yeah. It's a risky business idea, but it's all been going for so long now. It's working for a lot of these, and you pull. I have good friends of mine that are here locally, the Hemp House owners that do a bunch of media stuff here in town. They go to the Panic one every year because they're in their 40s now, and it's like we weed out all the riffraff.
Right.
All the idiots that just are trying to get a free ticket and a free bag of weed can't afford to hang out. And these guys are those people. They're just older and don't want to do. And so that's kind of what this is.
That's right.
And that I don't think that somebody could argue that could ruin the experience. I don't think so. I think it can only make it better. But quickly here, a couple that were announced this week. Jason Isbell's doing this in Mexico City called Super Ocho, which I think that's a huge risk. I don't know how many people. These are some high ticket prices for this. And Dead Ahead, which has been going for the last few years in Riviera Cancun in January. That was announced by Bob Weir, or from Bob Weir's official page, Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead. So there won't be a Dead band, Dead & Company there probably, but all the offshoots and that kind of thing, what they've done the last few years. So those are coming up at the beginning of next year. And I guess part of the reason for mentioning it was they were just announced. And the other is, do you guys find this is something that you would have interest in doing even at a discount price or something, or some kind of ideal situation?
Yeah. It's an extension of, if you remember, when Moon River came to town, and again, Jeff Cuellar was on our show, and it was the boutique experience. It's very boutique. It's that next level of people want not just to see the band, they want what they consider a unique experience, and that's the way he described it, and it made perfect sense. They want to feel like I went to Mexico City, which would be a unique experience.
Yeah, a little bit more than Miramar Beach, Florida. Yeah,
right. Or I stood in front of a stage at XYZ and watched a band that I like. I got also the tourist part of it.
Yeah.
And then you add in, I got to have go through the buffet line with Bob Weir or whatever.
Sure, right.
Which is a very realistic possibility of those all those are realistic things.
So,
but
I get that.
And I do too. The difference, though, here on a couple of these is they're not all inclusive and they're not the same, and they're taking major, what I believe are budget cuts on these, like this Miramar one in Florida. This is a ticketed event. I can buy a ticket, drive to Florida, go to the show, the same way the guy or gal who's staying at this resort is going to the show. So it's a little bit different. This one in Mexico City with Jason Isbell is also not all-inclusive. It includes a lot, but it's not all-inclusive. I started doing some math quickly in my head. The average person, that's going to cost $7,000-$8,000 minimum to get there and back for 4 days. For Isbell? For 4 days? Okay. I love Isbell. Don't come at me. Love him.
Yeah.
And then the Dead Ahead, if you're dead right now, you can sell anything. You can sell a pile of rocks that say Grateful Dead written in Sharpie on them right now. So the Dead will be fine.
Yeah. I mean, to your question, I guess it depends on the person. I'm not that guy that wants to necessarily sit at a table with an artist that I enjoy.
Well, you'd also have to be a pretty big super fan, even though there's other artists. This is still revolved around the host artist, so you'd have to be a pretty big fan. Which I know you're the My Morning Jacket guy of the the show.
Right, but I mean, I like the band and I want to see it, but I'm not that type that would pay a lot of money so that I could,
Stand in a buffet line.
Stand at a buffet line with Jim J. That's just not me, on the one hand, but on the other, I haven't done it, so I can't say I wouldn't enjoy it. I mean, if he's hanging out having a good time, then that would be awesome.
Can't hurt the experience, that's for sure.
Correct. And that would be
well,
cool.
This is kind of my response, in that way you put it would be like why I've never been to Hangout at Gulf Shores, is because I understand, at least I don't necessarily love it, but I like it enough going to the beach, going to a condo, going with friends, spending the week at the beach. And then I understand going to music and concerts and all those things. The blending of the two, I have always had trouble with thinking, boy, that sounds like a really good idea. And the Hangout's been around for going on a decade and a half. I remember 2011 had Foo Fighters back when I was still very much into them. And, oh my God, Paul Simon. Oh, you want to talk about a name that gets people talking. Paul Simon, and those are just the two. I was like, if I don't go this year, I'll never go. And so I've never been to that because of that reason. I think that there's a lot of that for me is, do I really need if I want all inclusive to go hang out with my buddies at a exotic beach, that's good enough. It's kind of good enough.
I'm gonna mix worlds here, but to me, I keep thinking about like travel sports with my kids. We always signed up for these baseball or soccer tournaments in Disney or Louisville, and they always sold it as you can,
do all this other stuff.
You're gonna do all, and no, we go to Applebee's or Chili's and we play ball because there's not time.
Right,
it is
to
true.
do the other stuff. Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun to talk about all these cool things you can do.
Right.
But
you're at the ball field, or you're at the hotel, or you're at one of those chain restaurants,
or taking a damn nap,
or washing uniforms, or whatever. But that's not to disparage. I'd like to try one. It would have to be the right one.
Yeah, somebody comps it. I'm in there all day long. But those are all into next year, and there'll be more of those. But that's really about all that's new going on out there right now.
Let me go back. I mean, I can see if I was into all 5 of the bands or whatever, however many are on one of these cruises, it would be pretty cool. You get to see shows that no one else is going to see. I hope they're doing sets.
I think they usually live up. I've very rarely read anybody talking about how, boy, that sucked. Maybe, boy, that was expensive. But usually it was, boy, this was pretty unique.
Well, and for you and me, the cost is an issue. But there are a lot of people, as we've discovered, that have money. Yeah. And that's what they want to do. Issue. So I don't want. I think we're making it sound like a negative thing, and I don't mean it to be.
I don't either.
It's just not my universe right now.
Speaking of people who have means and money, real quick, the Burning Man fest is going on, I guess, as we speak, or within the next few days, or in this late part of August, anyway. And
Daniel and Charlotte are headed there as we speak. They're traveling.
I saw that. That is a hell of a trek. Holy jeez. All the way to Nevada. I didn't know much about Burning Man. Still don't really. But you want to talk about a festival that you got to have some means, and it's worded that way. Like that's how it reads. Bring if you don't have any money, you can't come here. And they're running into that as a ticket sales problem for the first time in the festival's history.
They're worried it may be over, and I don't. It's hard to read the headlines and figure out whether it's run its course or that rain from last year really hurt it, or both.
It feels like to me both.
Yeah,
probably a little both.
I mean, I know, out west out there getting close to the coast, if it rains, watch out. Like our month is ruined. But really, I would find it hard that just that would be enough to negatively affect a festival like that if it weren't also some other factors like cost and just after a while things aren't what they used to be. I still don't barely understand what the thing is. I hate to be that ignorant dummy on a show that's supposed to know about all these things. Certainly
well,
looks
I don't
neat.
think you would show up in that little mini tent of yours
Out in the desert without a tree? No, I don't think so.
and have a good time.
A little crappy
I don't think
hiker's
that's
pup
it.
tent. No, I mean, it's visually, like aesthetically, it's amazing. I've always known that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I still don't really know what the day looks like there. You know, like what is morning, afternoon, night, all that stuff. But
Yeah. No, I listened to Daniel and Charlotte. They've been before, and so I got
Oh, they have
a pretty
been
good
before.
idea. Yeah, they
Yeah.
and loved it.
okay.
You know, it has this perception of being a music festival, but that's not what it is.
I was about to say, it doesn't feel like
a
really not.
gathering of art-minded, people who just want to hang out, and they create all these things. And
Daniel and Charla, if
Yeah.
you're listening, I need you just be quiet for just a second. I'm not coming at you guys. Does that not sound like the most pretentious thing in the history of the world? A bunch of arts people just sitting around burning stuff, and that's it?
yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry, that's all. That's it. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I love y'all.
No,
Clearly, y'all love it if you went back again. It's a wild idea. And then I was talking to somebody who went to the Sphere after me, actually, who's a longtime Bonnaroo goer, and we got together to swap notes about the Sphere. And there's these little offshoots of Burning Man all over the country. In Florida, in Texas, there's these little, I was just like, really? How did I not know anything about this? So people love it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt people love it.
I don't know. All right, what else?
I guess for the most part, that's it. Part of the reason on Labor Day we won't be around is I'll be with our buddy Brad
Oh yeah.
in New York for Pearl Jam, which is a dream show. I should be as a time of this download time, it'll be about a week from right now that the show is, and I should be more excited about this. I should. Be.
You had a good summer, man.
Oh my God, it's been incredible.
You had a good summer.
It's been so much fun, and it's almost like, well, I guess I'll go see Pearl Jam.
Oh
now.
yeah, one more thing.
Yeah.
That album came out in April. I'm tired of it. But they just started their leg 3 of the tour, and as always, their tours are very sporadic, or they're all over the place. They're not like on a normal. They don't use lanes like Bonnaroo organizers do.
Right.
One day they're in Philadelphia, the next they're in Seattle. And it's what makes it difficult to find them. So looking forward to that. And then I don't know, after that,
Well, when you get back, we'll talk about that on the show. And then, like I said, we'll be looking forward to South Star in Huntsville. That's going to be Russ. You've got a wedding to go to and won't make
Yeah,
it.
I had to dip out of that, unfortunately.
Brian and I are going, and it's going to be a reunion, it sounds like, of Bonnaroo people. And
I'm getting more excited.
I know.
Honestly,
Me
I'm
too.
almost a little more excited about that weekend than being in New York. That's ridiculous. That'll all change. But
Huntsville, Alabama versus New York City.
yeah. No, how stupid do I sound right now? But I think that weekend, I've decided I'm going to do both days, at least
Good.
portions of Sunday. I don't know that I'll be there all night, but that's going to be a big weekend. So we'll get to that more soon enough. But
I'm looking
Yeah,
forward
that's
to
what's
it.
given me the most FOMO is not only is it a new festival, but it sounds like a Bonnaroo reunion. I mean, you guys are going. Obviously, Daniel and Charlotte and everybody in Huntsville's going to be there. Evan Bonnaroo's going. Skylar. I think Chloe's coming from Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
I just hope
a huge gathering of.
I hope the
We'll
ticket
get to
sales.
see our friend Sue Marcus. She's going to hook us up
Oh, yeah.
again.
Shout out to Sue. Yeah.
She's going to line up some interviews with us, which we love doing. So,
Yeah. I hope the tickets sell well, and I hope it's a good showing. It feels like it should be. And I guess a little bit for me, this is kind of my Moon River here locally replacement.
100%.
Exactly.
Because for 6 years we got used to hitting up one last quick weekend before we shut it down for the winter, and this is
100%.
for me. This is kind of taking that place. So
Very comfortable, fun, easy to get to, easy to navigate, good lineup. good people, get to see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm like you, Brian. I'm more closer it gets, the more excited I am. So, all right, guys. Well, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Russ, you got camping coming up? I know you got.
Say, Russ, you'll find something.
I'll find something to do. Yeah.
All right. And Brian, enjoy. Tell Eddie and the guys. Goober says, "Hey." Tell Brad, "Hey, have a good time in New York."
It's gonna be a big time. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
All right. See you guys.
See you guys.